Sun, moon. Wet, dry. Cold, hot. Rooftop raider, floor raider. Life as an exile is all about balance, so build better floors. This is how. The enemy never stops evolving, and neither should your base defense. And for this reason, we are back with the 6th video in a series dedicated towards defending against raiders and explosives. So far we've covered walls, doors, and ceilings, and now we will look at the next piece of the puzzle, floors. Building up high is smart. Climbing presents unique challenges to the raider. Fortunately in Conan, there are many geological formations and artificial structures that provide off-the-ground building sites. In this video, we'll only deal with T3 building pieces. So a single ceiling, or in this case floor, has 70k HP, which means it only takes 7 explosives to breach your base. Something new for the series that we haven't covered yet are explosive arrows. In case you didn't know, arrows have extreme range. Basically, they're like laser beams. With the advent of explosive tips, this means that raiders can reach out and touch your base when their explosives are out of range. You can also combine grease and poison arrows for added damage, but for this video we'll limit our analysis to explosive arrows only. Quickly, let's just see how many explosive arrows it takes to destroy a wall. One explosive arrow does 1554 damage, so it takes around 45 arrows to destroy the wall and around 64 arrows to destroy the foundation. Let's see how we can defend our base from the bottom up. Remember in the previous video, we saw how foundations can be raised by first placing a foundation, placing a wall on the foundation, and then placing a second foundation alongside the wall. While on the ground, this pattern can only be continued until the foundations reach their maximum height, which is typically 4 depending on how flat the ground may be. It's also important because when we transfer the design to pillars, 4 is the max number of ceilings you can place per square length. Also note that there are 3 pieces that can be used to anchor your building to the game world: foundations and wedge foundations, fence foundations, and pillars. These will add stability to your structures as long as they are actually touching the world. Every base built in the air will be dependent upon what the shape of the environment looks like. For this build, I decided to pick a spot that has a ceiling and 2 parallel walls. Because of this, I've decided it was best to first build the structure on the ground so I could line it up better, and then extend it upwards towards the ceiling. So let's start with 6 foundations. Place all 6 in a line, then destroy foundations 5, 4, and 3. Attach a wall to the first foundation, and then place the second foundation. You'll notice that you have 2 positions to choose from, one that is flush with the first foundation and one that is slightly higher. Place it higher. Continue the pattern. With all 4 foundations in place, extend pillars from each foundation to the ceiling. Remember, they have to actually connect to the world. Next, move to the front foundation and destroy it. Use fence foundations to create 3 rows. Then extend all 3 fence foundations to the ceiling. Again, make sure they touch. These are going to act as our exterior walls. No matter the number of walls, you need to place them before you place the ceilings or they won't fit. Repeat this step on the 6th foundation. Once you're done, return to the pillars. You'll notice that when you place a ceiling on the pillars, that each pillar has a different placing option for the ceiling piece. This is going to allow us to layer the floor. Pick a height that you want your floor to be at and then fill in the ceilings. You should have 4 layers. You'll notice that even though the ceilings pass through all the pillars, only one ceiling is anchored to one pillar. So if that particular ceiling piece is destroyed, then all the ceilings attached to it are destroyed as well. We will take care of this issue by adding more pillars later on. Now, if you placed your walls correctly, you should be able to destroy the pieces lower than the floor. I've decided to go lower than the floor so I can add even more layers to my defense. You can also cap off the bottom opening of the walls, fill in the rest of the ceilings, and then destroy the opposite walls. From this point, you can start extending the walls to the ends of your new base. The attachment point is along the ceiling, so extend the walls out as far as possible. To fill in the gaps, also build the walls from the ground up and destroy the ones you don't need. Repeat this process on the opposite side. Turn your attention back to the floor and let's extend that as well. Start with the lowest floor layer. In the previous video we saw that the building placement is limited by stability. With only one pillar, you can only extend that floor layer as far as this. To fill in the gaps, you'll have to add a pillar. It's best if you add it to the piece furthest from the originating pillar. That way you can maximize your building placement. Fill in the floor pieces. Continue to work your way up each layer. I know which layers are tied to which pillars, so I'm intentionally placing each new pillar. Once you're done, you can start to see what the base is going to look like. Instead of finishing the base, we'll look at various entryway designs. You can completely clear out the lower level, or you can keep the walls and add doors to them. You can clean up the original foundations and pillars if you want to, since they will no longer be used. On the opposite side, I'm just going to get rid of the walls for an example. If you connected your walls correctly, then the upper ones should not fall down. If you want to access your base by ladder hatches, then you can add a hatch frame to each of the floor layers. You can use a ladder to connect to the ground. Furthermore, you could also install a vertical elevator. You can reinforce your elevator and ladders by enclosing them in walls and doors. Add a door to the top of your elevator. Enclose your ladder by extending the fence foundations along the ground and then building up to meet your lowest floor layer, then add a doorway. To do the same to your elevator, you'll need to pick it up. Extend the fences and then build up to connect the walls to your lowest floor layer. Replace the elevator and then add a door. As a final check, let's see if an explosive arrow penetrates more than one layer. The arrow only does 1557 damage, give or take a few points, and only impacts the first floor. With 7 layers, it would take 315 explosive arrows to penetrate them. The purpose of this video is to give you ideas and present you with various options about floors so you can incorporate them into your own base. One final note, make sure you check the areas near your base for flat spots where explosives can be placed. Either block those spots or build away from them. So that wraps up floor basics. Don't forget that attrition can be an effective passive defense when used properly, but remember, the best defense is always an active defense. In the next several videos, we will cover defensive strategies such as door placement and elevator placement, a new mini-series that will cover all the ways that you can be raided, and we'll compare explosives versus explosive arrows, as well as trebuchets. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know down below. Also, if there are any specific video topics you'd like me to cover, then definitely let me know as well. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.